All right, welcome back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is August 20th, 2018, and we've got some more exciting teachings for you guys. I'm going to go through a number of things. Our focus today is going to be on Acts. I'm going to show you a revelation that came to me a couple days ago, and I was looking into it more this morning, and it was revealed and confirmed to me this morning. I'm going to show you the book of Acts in relation to the end times. Now, of course, I'm not going to go through the whole book of Acts, but I'm going to show you, just like we did Zechariah, just like we did with Hosea, like we did with Psalms, right? I'm going to show you what year these books, or this book of Acts, is relating to in reference to the end times. It's amazing. I don't know if the Lord has done this with every single book of the Bible, but we keep finding more and more and more, and Acts is no different. And as much as Acts with its 28 chapters, we would think, oh, maybe 20 or 2000 to 2028. No, it's completely different. And I'm going to show you. What got me thinking about it was Acts 15. Acts 15, I'm not going to go into it right away. I'm going to go into this other stuff. But Acts 15 was the one that I was showing you guys that was relating to 2018. Not that I was so much saying, oh, this is a 2018 chapter, as much as I was saying that look at what's happening. Remember, was it July 18th or something like that, or 20-something? The Knesset, or maybe even earlier this month, actually, when Israel, they've put the new law forward, remember? It's the new law that they have to obey the law, and it puts the yoke on the neck back onto the disciples, back onto Israel, back onto the land of Israel, right? Excuse me. And I was showing that that is revealed in chapter 15. Well, it's been on my heart and on my mind for maybe a week or two to say, well, maybe I should look into others and see if there's a relation, if this really does maybe equal 2018. It's crazy. I'm even going to show you 2007, I think it is right here. 2007, 2018. We'll touch into 2024 and 2025. It's wild. You're going to see everything lining up just like we've already been saying for the 14 years. All right, it's all lined up. We're going to be able to see those things that we spoke about that are in the chapters that they should be in, if it's really relating chapter to year, as I'm going to show you. But first, I'm going to show you something in Judges 7. Now, the reason and how I ended up in Judges was based on a subscriber, or sorry, not a subscriber, based on somebody on YouTube that was talking about the different watches. Not somebody I watch, well, I watch a little bit of them sometimes. I don't usually watch a full video, but what caught my attention was the title. And the reason it caught my attention was because of the word watch, this one right here. They were talking about the Hebrew word, see, 8/21, August 21st, tomorrow. And some of what we're talking about today is going to tie into exactly this. All right, it's going to tie into, are we going to see something tomorrow? Is the Lord going to somehow, through the angel of the Lord, going to reveal himself to some of the watchmen of the first watch? Right? Those within the bride that are the watchmen that are going to broadcast that there's 40 days, like Jonah with Nineveh. Right? And the Lord said that he's going to be a 40-day warning to this generation? Or is it something we're going to see in the sky? Is it going to be tomorrow? I don't know. I believe there's a good chance I would keep everybody just keep watching, paying attention to what's going on, because we are in that time. And today, these things that I'm going to show you again is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing revelations of connections that we've been showing on this channel for months now. And I'm going to show you, we're going to go back into Zechariah as well. Zechariah, excuse me, Zechariah, where are we? Zechariah 7? Yeah, Zechariah 7. We're also going to go into there, and that's because of a sister in Christ. When I was asking guys, and I asked that we still continue to pray. Remember the Orthodox family and the whole pedophilia thing and things that they're going through and so forth, that I'm not allowed to really say much on except for that. Well, the daughter and the mother, one of the kids, one of the daughters, they've become believers recently, I think within the last couple of years, and we want to give prayers for the husband and the father. Remember, these are Orthodox Jews, right? So we call them our Orthodox family. Well, the daughter sent me an email yesterday or the day before, and I'm going to show you something that was sitting right in front of our eyes. You see, the Lord uses people, and when it's time, He reveals and gives us a little bit more. It's this year, guys. And when I show you what's in Zechariah 7, which part of it we already understood. However, if we had understood what I'm going to show you in there today, we wouldn't have been looking at Pentecost. We wouldn't have been looking at Passover. We wouldn't have been looking at all these other festival and feast days because of what I'm going to show you today. The Bible tells us two events that are still going to be celebrated in the 70th year. Isn't that crazy? And it was right there the whole time. But it took a Jewish sister to have me pause and look at it and say, what? That's what that is. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, wait a second. When is that? Right? So we'll look at that. But I wanted to show this here in Judges real quick. So here we are in Judges 7. And when this other YouTuber was talking about, the Hebrew word 821 for August 21st, by no means do I think tomorrow is the escape day. I think it could be whatever this sign of the Son of Man could be, all right, that Jonah talks about. I believe that could be tomorrow. And it's exciting. It makes for late nights, just, usually not getting to bed till 1:30, 2 in the morning. Because we're just studying. Yeah, I do take breaks. I definitely will watch some shows here and there because I study all day long. And sometimes if I keep studying too much, it just really becomes not overwhelming, but it becomes a lot. And if I keep doing it without digging and just keep going to the next and the next and the next, I'm going to be jumping over some crazy important information that I want to be able to share with you guys too. So watch this. 821 for the word watch. Look at what it says here. So it's the word watch, and looking up this Hebrew word that got me into Judges 7. Listen to this. We're going to cover some things too. There's going to be some passages in Acts when we get into that. That, guys, I'm telling you, your minds are going to be even more the understanding is just going to open up even more when you see, well, a number of things, but when you see one in particular, there's the debate as to the 144,000. We know the 144,000. It's the wild tree and the green tree, right? It's Jew and Gentile. When I show you what I'm going to show you here in Acts, you're going to say, well, wait a second. If the 144,000 that are his, that are supposed to be going first, as some people believe, right? Some people think we're at the sixth seal, that we're waiting for the sixth seal to happen when we're not, right? We're waiting for that peace deal, the first seal, to be revealed, right? And this is going to prove and hopefully give greater understanding to those people who think we're at the sixth seal waiting for it, and that the 144,000 gets sealed next. If we were at the sixth seal, waiting on the sixth seal next, I would be in full agreement that yes, the 144,000 are the next thing to happen. They're the ones that get sealed, and that's what comes next. What I'm going to show you today is going to give you even more proof, more evidence that we're not there yet. All right? When we get into Acts especially. When we get into Acts especially. So, let's have a look at this real quick. So Gideon and 100 of his men came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning, look at this, of the middle watch. Of the middle watch. So for there to be a middle, there has to be at least one on one side and one on the other. If it was 4, there's no real middle watch, right? There would be 2 of them that would be the middle, 2 and 3. So you would need to have at least 3 watches for one to be the middle one. All right? Excuse me. Pretty straightforward, easy to understand. All right, let's go to Luke. I think it's in Luke 12. When we go to Luke and it's talking about the watches, right? So, and yourselves, so keep your gird about and your lights burning. And you yourselves like unto men that wait for the Lord, we're in Luke 12, that wait for the Lord when he will return from the wedding. All right? So when he returns from the wedding, when the bride is taken, right, after the 7 years and she's kept away in a chamber, she's going to get married. After she gets married, has the wedding, guess what? The next group comes to the banquet, which is 7 more years. All right? They're going to be there in the banquet while the other things are happening on the earth. Okay? So watch this. This is when he left, because on the first watch, he took the bride for the wedding in the first watch, all right? And look at what it says. Second watch and third watch. It doesn't say anything about first watch anywhere. Why? Because the first watch was the one that he took already and is the one for the wedding. So listen to what it says. So as he will return from the wedding, that when he comes and knocks, they may open unto him immediately, right? We know that, the story in Song of Solomon, right? Song of Songs or Song of Solomon, they say. Blessed are those servants whom the Lord, when he cometh, shall find them watching. Verily I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them to sit down and eat, and will come forth and serve them. Who? Those when he comes for the second watch, and then those when he comes for the third. He says, and if he shall come in the second watch, or in the third watch, and find them so, meaning find them so doing, blessed are those servants who were watching, who opened right away for him, who missed the escape of the bride. The second watch is the rapture in 2024. The third watch is when he returns. Okay? So the middle watch would be what? The second watch. So watch. The middle watch. Listen to this. In the beginning of the middle watch. So right at the start. Pay attention. Right at the start of the second watch, the middle watch, they had but newly set the watch. So not just the beginning, they're letting you know that it was just started. Just boom, right at the beginning. Newly set in the beginning of the watch. And the trumpets blew. And they broke the pitchers that were in their hands. This isn't the trumpets of tribulation. This is the silver trumpets being blown. All right? Now watch, go a little bit further and listen to this. All right, we're going 3 verses further. Or here, let's go 2 verses further, just to set it up. And they stood every man in his place round about the camp, and all the host ran and cried and fled. Excuse me. And listen to this. And the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow. What? At the beginning of the second watch, the first watch is gone. The second watch has just begun. The time of the tribulation of seals. The second watch, the time of the church, the tribulation time of the church, the second watch has just begun. And when it's set, what happens? Right when it begins, the Lord sets every man's sword against his fellow. Does that ring a bell? The red horse rider? When peace is taken from the earth, right? From him that for him that sat thereon, to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another with a great sword that was given to him. Hello? You see that? It's the same thing. Look. How about Zechariah? Is it 7 or 8? It goes back to one of these verses I love going to. What does the Lord say here? Zechariah 8 is the year 2025. The exact same time. Escape of the bride happens here. Second watch begins at some point in 2018 after the bride is taken. The watch goes all the way to the rapture, okay, in 2024, which is chapter 7. And listen to what he says now that he's returned on Mount Zion. Not Mount Olives, which is here in 14, in the year 2031. It even says when he returns to onto Mount of Olives here. But here, for those that are new, he's going to return at trumpets, at the end of seals. He's going to return. That's why you read, hide from the face of the one who sits on the throne and from the Lamb. You see that at the end of the 6th seal. Because there's going to be people that are going to be able to see Jesus coming. They're going to see this light. All right? So this is what they're seeing. He's going to be returning to Zion. Not Mount of Olives, but to Zion. And they're going to rebuild the city and the streets. All right? For 3.5 years before he leaves again. Watch this. What does he say? What does he say here? For before these days, so before 2025, for before these days, there was no hire of man, nor hire of beast, neither was there any peace, red horse rider, peace taken from the earth, to him that went in or out, because of the affliction, because the tribulation. Zechariah 1, I'm not sure which verse, about midway through. Zechariah 1, maybe 14 or 15, something like that. When the affliction had begun after the peace deal went out. So there was no peace on the earth because peace was taken away after the peace deal was broken. And there was no man to hire nor beast because of the affliction that was on the earth, with peace having been taken. And look, for I, this is the Lord speaking, for I set every man, all men, everyone against his neighbor. You get it? That's exactly how many times, guys, it's like a not quite a broken record because I'm showing it from books from Genesis and Exodus and Leviticus and Deuteronomy and Numbers and Judges, and I'm showing it all over the place. It's crazy. That's what's being said here. In the beginning, at the newly set time of the middle watch, which means the second watch, the trumpets of tribulation blew. Not the trumpets of, the 7 years of trumpets, the tribulation of those of meaning of trumpets. It is the silver trumpets that Moses had, all right? To say that war is begun. And what happens? The Lord sets every man against his fellow. When? In the second watch. At the red horse rider. When the covenant, or when, not the covenant, when the peace deal is broken, I believe 40 days after the peace deal is revealed. And that might very well possibly be the sign tomorrow. Maybe they're going to release the peace deal tomorrow. We need to be watching like crazy for tomorrow. Maybe something in the overnight, I don't know. But guys, I am telling you, we need to be diligently on top of watching. But as a subscriber had said, and as my sister says as well, what is most important? That we be repentant, that we're watching for him, that we're praying, that we're spending time with him, that we're sharing him, right? It's nice getting those reminders that we're not looking for a date. We shouldn't be looking necessarily for a date. However, the Bible tells us we will know the time and the season. And I'm going to give you more evidence of that time and season today. We're going to build on that as well. So this is speaking about second watch, church time, from Red Horse Rider, tribulation has begun, and the Lord sets everyone against each other and their swords, just like we've been showing the whole time. And now here we are in Judges, it's revealed again. It's amazing. Now let's go into Zechariah before we go into Acts. Watch this. It's awesome. All right. We've spoken about this many, many times. I was I was telling my wife last night about it once I was speaking with our sister in Christ. Right? I always call it the Orthodox family, right? So I don't give too much away about the family. But they're awesome, and it's great having some Jewish believers that can point us and give us greater understanding into the biblical traditions that they followed, right? Now, it was something that I should have just understood, but I was so caught up in the thing of 70 being spoken here. But when you see this, wait till you see greater evidence. This is 2018. This is 2024, the rapture year. 2018, see guys, for those that don't still believe the 14 years that are listening, you realize I was teaching this 14 years, the revelation of it, months before I even realized that 2018 was the 70th year of Israel. So here we are in 2018, in the 70th year, and 14 years later is 2031. The 2,000 years since Christ died when he was going, and he's going to return. Do you see that? You can't make this stuff up. It's perfect. Now watch. This is the 70th year. So when we're in Zechariah 7, it's the year 2024. But look what he says. Even those 70 years, did you at all fast unto me, even to me? No, he says, you guys were eating and doing all these things for yourselves. You weren't doing it for me. But he didn't say 71 years. Excuse me, he didn't say 72, 73, 74. We're 77 years here. This is 70th year. By the time you're here, it's the 77th year. And he's talking about the 70th back here in 2018, where we are today. All right? And look what he says. Should you not hear the words which the Lord has cried by the former prophets? Look at this. When Jerusalem was inhabited and in prosperity. When she was inhabited and was in prosperity, guys, Jerusalem is about to get hit in the 70th year, the current year we are in. Do they get hit maybe at the end of the 40th day? I don't know, because remember, there's this whole earth-shaking event that the whole world's going to experience as well. Right? We know that. That's Luke 21:34 it starts at. Right? They're going to be caught off guard. They're going to be caught unawares. The bride, those who are watching and praying, they're going to understand. Now, we're going to get a little bit freaked out. Don't get me wrong. But we know it's coming. We've somewhat prepared our minds mentally to understand it's coming. But watch this. Here it is talking about the 70 years in 2018 that we're currently in. But what about this? It was right in front of us the whole time. Watch. So there you go. That's how you use the highlighting, if you guys didn't know. Okay? Everybody should use this program, eSword. Download it on your phones, tablets, laptops. You want to grow in understanding? Boom. This is how you do it. You go to these word definitions. You go to the prime root of it, and you can see what these words are really saying and what they mean. All right? So watch this. When you fasted and mourned in the 5th and 7th month. What? In the 5th and 7th month, even those 70 years, meaning all of those 70 years, when you were fasting and mourning in the 5th month and in the 7th month. Wait a second. When do they fast in the 5th month and mourn in the 5th month? You want to see? Right here. I'm telling you guys, it's the Jewish calendar, or sorry, the Hebrew calendar. This Hebrew calendar is God's calendar. Is it possible, like I said in the previous video, that it is not a second Adar year, like I've been believing it was? Yes, it's possible it was not a second Adar year. With what I showed you in the previous video and what I'm going to show you today, it is absolutely likely that it wasn't a second Adar year. And it proves, remember, I don't know how I got off track with not wanting to believe the Hebrew calendar. Except, oh, I guess I do, because when Passover came and went, and I was thinking maybe we were looking at Passover at the escape. When Pentecost had come and gone, and yes, there is the early one and there's the late one, right? There is. And when the Pentecost had come and gone. So, because of the Passover first and then the Pentecost thing, I was thinking there must be something wrong with the Hebrew calendar. That's what caused me to stray from it. But the entire time before that, I've been speaking, and during that time, I was speaking about January 31st, Tu B'Shavat. This is the day of the super blood red moon that landed on the Festival of Trees. That is the first event in Zechariah 1 that tells us 2018. Remember, events that happen in the sun, moon, and the stars are shown to us as to what's taking place on the earth. So within the sun, moon, and stars, we had a super blood red moon, which is the red horse rider explanation among the trees, it says in Zechariah 1. Well, Tu B'Shavat is what? The Festival of Trees. It's a big festival within the Jewish community. It's not a feast, but it's a festival. And that happened on January 31st in the 2nd year of Darius Trump, which began right here. You see that? What happened next? May 14th, the 70th year. Well, this is the next event on earth that took place that Zechariah talks about in Zechariah 1. So why was I jumping around these calendars when I knew this one was 100% bang on? Because of Passover and Pentecost. All right? So now watch this. In the 5th month and 7th month. In the 5th month, and what is a fast day and a mourning day in the 5th month? All right? It is, where are we? The 9th, 10th of Av. This is what? Commemorating the destruction of the 2 temples. In 70 AD approximately, right? And I think it's really 2 BC from when Christ was born. You know, they're off with that calendar count by 2 years, and we've proven it, which is why it's 2031. And he died in 31 AD. So it's really probably like around 68. Makes sense, doesn't it? Think about that one for a second. So here it is, the destruction of the 2 temples. On this day, the Hebrew people, according to our Jewish sister in Christ, she said, this is the day of the 5th month that we mourn and fast. And that is this month right here. In the 5th month, when you mourned and fasted. So anything prior to July 21st, 22nd of this year could not have been the day of the escape. See that? Watch this. Well, now what about the 7th month and the 7th month? So all of those 70 years since 1948 to 2018, it says they were fasting and mourning in the 5th and the 7th month. Which is telling us here in 2024, 7 years later, that they were still here, still in the land. When? At the morning and when the day that they mourned and fasted in the 7th month as well. What day in the 7th month do the Jewish people mourn and fast. Ta-da! Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement is the 7th month, Tishri, the 7th month where they fast and they mourn. Meaning what again? Before September 18th and 19th, 2018, Jerusalem still has not been hit. The bride has still not left. See that? And there's a debate, what she had sent in the email as well, is there's a debate whether the 9th, 10th of Av, the destruction of the temple, when the one guy, I can't remember his name, when the one king was also killed, there's a debate for a long, long time between them that whether the king was killed in the same year of the destruction of the temple. Many think it was a separate year, and others think that it was, some think it was the same year, and others think it was maybe 3, 4, 5 years later. Well, I can tell you guys right now, and I'll put that argument to rest for all the Jewish listeners out there. It was the same year. It was the same year. And that's why we have this here. 1948 to 2018. And in 2018, inclusive, they will still fast and mourn on the 5th month and the 7th month, which is telling us what? Israel, or Jerusalem, and the destruction will not occur before the 19th of September. Well, guess what? You guys realize where I'm going with this, right? We talked about this in the previous video on the... Sorry, cold coffee is good sometimes too. Remember, we spoke about this on the previous video. That if we go 40 days back from the 8th day, let's do it another way. Let's do it this way going forward. Let's go Let's go August 21st, the 1-year anniversary of the solar eclipse across America. That has a 7-year anniversary, by the way, on April 8th, 2024, which is Revelation 6. By the way, that is Revelation 6, the earth quaking and shaking. That's where it's going to come from and rip America apart. All right? So let's go 1 year from that, one of those Jonah signs, right? Because when Jonah was going into Nineveh, before he got there, sometime before he got there, X amount of time, there was a solar eclipse that passed over them in recorded history. And that was one of the things that gave them fear that when he got there, they were ready, right? And that's why they all repented. So we're going to that 1-year anniversary, which is tomorrow, from last year's eclipse. And you guys need to watch the previous video if you haven't, or the last 2 videos if you haven't, that talk about it, because Matthew's group and Mark's group, not Luke's group, who's the bride, but Mark's group, who is the church that remained, and Matthew's group, who is Judah, they were both given trouble for not having stayed awake while Jesus went to pray for 1 hour. That 1 hour is 1 year. So they both got trouble, because it says their spirits were ready and willing, but their body, their flesh was weak. Because they couldn't even watch, quote unquote, stay awake, watching for these signs, watching for what was going around the world, spending the time in their Bibles, spending time with the Lord, repenting. Right? They couldn't even keep doing it for 1 year from that sign of the eclipse. And so they were left. They were the ones who remained. Luke doesn't get that shielding. Right? He didn't get that, browbeating. They didn't get that. It's not spoken of at all. Because Luke's is the group that was watching, is the bride that goes. So now let's do this calculation. From the 1-year anniversary tomorrow, add 40 days for the sign of Jonah, This is like the sign of Jonah, 1 year anniversary from the sign, a sign of Jonah, not the sign of Jonah, a sign before Jonah got there. And we're going to add 40 days from when the Lord says he's going to be a sign. So from tomorrow, if we get something, and what does it say? Look where this takes us. Come on now. Well, I'll save you the, oh, there we go. It takes us to the, where are we? Why did it do that? Why? Give me a second. Why would it do that? Oh, sorry, I've got subtract. All right, because, yeah, we're going the other way now. Okay, so add 40 days to tomorrow. September 30th. Look at what September 30th is, right? This is called the 8th day. When does it begin? On the evening of the 30th. What does Luke say? Luke in Luke 11, right? Mount Transfiguration, which is slightly spoken differently in Matthew, Mark, and Luke because of the 3 different groups that it's speaking to. Yet, all 3 of them say the same thing regarding should we build 3 booths for you? Tabernacles, right? Booths. Sukkot. See, Feast of Tabernacles. When does this come? About an 8th day. Well, the evening right here, the beginning of it would be about an 8th day. On the festival that's called, or the, yeah, I guess the festival part of the feast, that's called the 8th day. Right? And when would this evening be here? On the 8th day, Sunday? You see that? And when is it after? The last festival that the Lord mentions, or the last morning, and here, at the last morning and fast day in the 5th month and the 7th month, even those 70 years. So all the 70 years they will have fasted and mourned on the 5th month and on the 7th month. And the calculation from tomorrow for the Jonah 40-day sign lands after the last event spoken of in Zechariah 7 about Zechariah 1 in the 70th year. Absorb that for a moment, guys. Take a minute. I was freaking out. I was going, like I said, I was telling my wife, and I was actually telling my daughter. My daughter loves this stuff too. She just turned 13, like I said in the other video. And the depth and the importance and the revelation of these things is just, it's unbelievable. You know, when I keep explaining, you know, this is 2024. These each represent a year. And here we are in 2024 at the rapture, and he's talking about back here at the 70th. Right? Look, he's even telling you when Jerusalem was inhabited and was prosperous. Meaning what? She's no longer, now that I'm here talking to you, she was no longer prosperous after those 70 years. But that they were still there during the 5th month fasting and mourning and during the 7th month fasting and mourning. But after that 7th month, Tishri, 18th, 19th of September 2018, there's no more mention. You get it? This is crazy. And for those that still don't want to believe that it's going to be 2018, you know, maybe it's just you're just to give yourself comfort. I get it, right? Because you don't want to get too caught up in it because it could really consume you thinking that now's the time and what do I do? What do I do? We have to occupy. But if my job here on this channel isn't evidenced enough, then people just aren't watching. They're not paying attention. Because this stuff is unbelievable. To be able to connect all of this stuff. I mean, and we're not even done yet. All right? So guys, you want to talk about watching with eyes wide open right now, get ready. Get ready. What's the sign of the Son? Is it going to be Revelation 12:1? Is that going to be the sign of the Son of Man? I don't know. Is it going to be that everybody could see it, but only those who are his will understand it? I don't know. Is he going to show up only to certain ones that are his to reveal it, to wake up others for that 40-day warning? I don't know. I do know what the scripture tells us, though, about the 70th year. And it's 2018. All right? Guys, it's all over the scriptures. All right? So, that was awesome, exciting. Thank you very much, sister, for sharing that with me and opening my eyes to this understanding, which just flat out tells us it couldn't have been those other feasts or festivals. These things had to take place still. Crazy. It was there the whole time. I love it. All right. Excuse me. Let's go into Acts here and look at this, okay? We're in Acts 15, and we talked about this in a video a little while back. You know, when Israel just recently, through the Knesset and so forth, the lawmakers, right, the Pharisees and so forth, what they did is they wanted to re-implement and pass laws to bring back law. Bring back Moses' Levitical law. All right? And it passed. It passed the third session and so forth. It's become law. Now, to what extent is it enforced yet or to that point? I'm not sure. But it even passed the third reading. You guys can go to unsealed.org and look that up. It's done. We've done a video on that. This is it right here. It's spoken of in Acts 15. Look at this. But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees, which believed, saying, it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. So they're not doing this from an evil spirit necessarily. All right? They just think, you know, we're in our 70th year. We need to get back to the law. We need to make this implemented and, you know, show ourselves good for God. When what they're doing is they're putting the burden of a yoke. They're yoking themselves with this burden. All right? Watch. Acts 15:10. So what's happened is now Peter, right? The disciples are like, what are you doing, guys? Why are you putting this burden back upon us? Watch. Now, therefore, why tempt you God to put a yoke, that burden, upon our neck, or upon the neck of the disciples? Who are the disciples? We know the disciples, Matthew's group, right? The Jews. Okay? It's the same thing when Luke says them or they. Mark says four people's names, like Andrew, John, right? For the discourse. I'm speaking about the discourse. Matthew, and when you know it's speaking to Matthew's group, it's what? The disciples. In Mark's here, it says the 3 or 4 guys' names. In Luke, speaking to the bride, it says, and they said to him. And they came to him privately. All right? All spoken of slightly different because of who they're speaking to. Luke is the bride. Mark is the church that remained, the rest of the church that remained. Because Luke is part of the bride, don't get me wrong. It's 10% of the bride. It's 10% of the church. This is those who remained. And Matthew is Judah. John, in the overall sense, is speaking to the 144,000. All right? So Acts 15, here we are. What happened here in July 2018, this happened. All right? And then here you have them arguing, which you could also see on unsealed.org, or if you just do a search of them bringing back the law in the land of Israel. And you'll see that they started an uproar and started debating and arguing it, and there's people out there protesting and so forth, all right? They're putting the yoke, the burden back on themselves. Look what he says. Because what had happened is, he says, you know, why would you put the burden, see, here it is right here, just the rest of it. Why would you put this burden back on the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers, Abraham and Moses and all the fathers of Israel, they weren't even able to bear it. The Lord came. Jesus Christ came to save us so we didn't have to deal with this. And here Israel is in 2018 putting it back on, right? And then we went into this. So if we follow this in order, what comes first? They've declared it. That's happened in 2018. I think it was July, not August, but July. There was protests about it. Next comes the peace deal. And then watch this. Something so simple in front of our eyes, yet we missed it. Watch, or I missed it, but I'm sure many missed it. Watch this. And after they had held their peace, right, because that's what's coming next, the peace deal, James answered, saying, Men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simeon has declared, listen to this, listen how vital this is. Simeon has declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles. Is the Gentiles Jew and Gentile? No. Non-Jewish, foreign, the heathen, the adulterers, all of them like we've spoken about so many times, right? We're all the adulterers. We're all the tax collectors, us Gentiles, right? Now, yes, we are one in Christ. But listen to what he says. How God at first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. This is what I was talking about earlier. If the 144,000 is the portion that comes next, and we are really at the sixth seal, it would be the 144,000. That's the next event. Well, after seeing all this destruction that comes when you read the sixth seal, and they're going to see the Lord coming and so forth, I would be in agreement. However, that is not what's next. We are still at the first seal. The white horse rider and the red horse rider, they are both here right now. They just haven't been revealed yet. The white horse rider will be revealed with that peace agreement. The red horse rider will be revealed when war breaks out and the peace agreement's broken. I believe that will last 40 days, and we're probably looking towards the end of September to earliest October, approximately, all right? Based on what we're seeing here. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a few more weeks before it begins, before that stuff, the start with the peace deal, all right? That's the red horse rider and the red horse rider. But look at what happens. The bride won't be here, by the way, for the red horse rider. Maybe at the same moment, I'm not sure, but we're not going to be here. The bride won't be here for the red horse rider, right? Those who are found accounted worthy to escape all these things. But look, if it was the 144,000 being taken out, that God first did visit the Gentiles to take out a people of them for himself. Do you get that? The Gentiles. He's taking out a group from among the Gentiles for himself. If it was the 144,000, the 144,000 consists of Jews and Gentiles. How would it be possible then that the scriptures are telling us he's taken out Gentiles? See that, guys? Think about it. And so reading these things, I started saying, well, these things so far have happened in order. I didn't even know this was a thing until I heard that about what they had done, and then somebody was leading to this down here to talk about this. I decided to read the whole chapter on it and realized that it's talked about right here. And then I kept reading and following it through, and then realizing, bang, this is what we're waiting on next. And then this. It's exactly the order of Zechariah that we're talking about in Zechariah 1. It's the same order in the Psalms. It's the same order of the seals. Peace deal is what we're waiting for next. And it's possible it's tomorrow. I don't know if it's the peace deal that's going to get 40 days before it's broken, or there's going to be a 40-day sign of some sort, and within it there's going to be a peace deal. That lasts maybe a week, maybe it's only a day it lasts, I don't know. But I do know we're getting a 40-day something first. All right, so looking at these things, and then look what he says. This is this is Daniel 9, for crying out loud. The 3.5 years. This is the beginning of trumpets when the Lord returns to Mount Zion. All right, and after this, I will return and I will build again the Tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up. I mean, come on. It's the same thing. So when he returns, this is the group that takes taken out at the beginning of seals for the bride, right? So it's agreed that this pre-tribulation escape of the bride, and to this agree the words of the prophet as it is written. This is what I reveal on this channel. That there is this group. It is not the whole church, and I'm going to show you even in the scriptures here even more. That this is a portion of the church. All right? When he returns, they're going to rebuild the temple and so on, in the city and the streets, just like Daniel 9 says. This is the beginning of trumpets. For 3.5 years they're going to be doing this. And then look at this. And the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles. Oh wait, Gentiles up there, Gentiles down here. Yeah, there's still going to be Gentiles left. This isn't all the Gentiles. This is a piece of them for himself. Okay? Look at this. And that the residue of men might seek after the Lord. What do you mean the residue of men might seek after the Lord? The left behind. The rest of the church that weren't prepared nor found accounted worthy for this first grouping. 90% gets left. 10% is going. All right? And it's coming quick. It's crazy. You know, when I said I was going through it and I was explaining it with my daughter over and over again, and she gets it, but I get so fired up, as you guys understand here on this channel, that, man, you know, think about it, guys. This stuff that we're reading, that I go through on this channel, is literally about to happen. We're going to see these things. We're going to be suddenly turned into light and gone. What on earth is this going to look like? Ponder that for a minute. It's crazy. You know, here's the other thing to think about. That 40-day sign that comes, give or take, after this peace deal is revealed. If it's the peace deal or whatever this pre-sign is. With only 2%, I believe that 10% number equals globally of all believers. It's going to be globally, not just of believers, but globally, it's going to be about 1.8% of the global population. 144 million people, which if the population were exactly 8 billion today, which is probably getting close, if it was 8 billion, 1.8% of 8 billion is 144 million. All right? Which equals 10% of the church. That's the 10% that is this group being taken out. Those that were watching, were praying, those that were the first watch, that become the bride. The remaining 1.2 odd billion are those that are going to go through the tribulation, and there's going to be mass revival that's going to come, especially in the later parts. And there's going to be over 1 billion people saved that are going to go in the rapture. All right? That's 2024. So this is that group, the residue that are still there, those that were left behind. So looking at this, we're saying, man, this is 2018. There's more here too about, you know, why is sometimes talking and saying the apostles, and other times it speaks and it says disciples. I believe there's something else, there's another mystery to be revealed in why it has apostles and disciples and where those two will fit. All right? Well, look at this, even just to finish off on this with 2018. It tells them that Paul and these guys said nothing of the sort. See, for as much as you have heard that certain which went out from us, right? These guys teaching the law, right, out of Israel that have made this a law, have troubled you with words, subverting your souls, right? They're giving you extra baggage, right? They're setting up this baggage upon you, saying that you must be circumcised and keep the law. He says, to whom we gave no such commandment. You see that? It's not for us. They should not be doing it, and they've brought a burden upon themselves having done that. All right? Tribulation is about to begin. So seeing all these things here happen in order, I started thinking, well, maybe Acts 15 is 2018. So what's the simplest place to start at, just to see if there's a calculation? If this is 2018, let's go. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. Oh, 2031. Right to the end again. Watch this. If that's 2000, so I also been doing a study on, and I haven't done too much on it yet, but I'm doing a study on 40, all right? Not just the 40 years, but also the 40 days and so on and so forth. But in this particular thing, something stood out for me that in the New Testament, see that there's a lot in the Old Testament, but in the New Testament, Acts 4 is the first place we find the word or the phrase 40 years. In the entire New Testament, it begins in Act 4. Let's see what Acts 4 is, all right? Here's 2018, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. So Acts 4 would be the year for 2007 where 40 years is mentioned for the first time. All right? What's 2007 have to do anything with 40 years? 1967, Israel became Jerusalem became Israel's again for the first time in they recaptured it after 19 years from 1948, and in 1967 they captured it again. And 40 years later, the first time where the Bible in the New Testament talks about 40 years, the words 40 years, it's in Acts 4, which I just showed you, equals 2007. The 40th anniversary. So now I'm like, okay, wait a second. There's an event here in 2015 and a sequence of events that's lining up with everything going on in 2018, well, since July, taking place in 2018. I count forward, this equals 31, like 2031. I go backwards, and the one for 2007 is where the first time the word 40 comes up, 40 years, shows up in the New Testament, and it's 2007, the 40th anniversary of Israel becoming a nation. That's not coincidence, guys. Well, we're going to take it even further because there's no such thing as coincidence. Let's go 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, the rapture year in 2024. Watch this. It's so good. I'm not going to go through all of it because of time, right? We're getting there. But watch this. There, the ship was unloaded. There, the ship unloaded her burden. All right? And look what he does. Look what happens. They're finding disciples. And finding disciples, we tarried with them 7 days. Now, by the way, just because we see 7 days, it doesn't necessarily mean 7 years or 7 months. Sometimes it could just be the 7 days, all right? Excuse me, or 7,000 years. It's not always, right? We have to use discernment. Could it relate also to 7 years? Maybe, because we know that they're going to be here the whole time during the trumpets. But this is the year 2024 we just showed you. This is 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Well, what happens in the year 2024? 144,000. All right, watch this. Then what happens? All right, so the Spirit of the Lord, that they should not go to Jerusalem yet, okay? And when we had accomplished those days, right, these days, that's why I say it's probably not 7 years, but maybe there's a relation to 7 years, but they were there for 7 days, not to go to Jerusalem, all right? It says, and we departed and went our way, and they all brought us on our way with wives and children. They brought their wives and their children. Who is going to be there with their wives and with their children, rebuilding the temple? In the eyes of the remnant of this people in those days, or is it the far country? And I will bring them, and they shall dwell with me in the midst of Jerusalem, and I shall be their God, and they shall be my people. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong. And this is those who are building the temple. But you can keep reading, maybe it's earlier up here. It's talking about, here it is. See, thus saith the Lord of hosts, and there shall yet your old men and your old women, they'll be the kids are going to be playing in the streets, right? Boys and girls playing in the streets, while what? While 2025, the temple begins to get rebuilt. But who shows up first? The 144,000 in 2024. They're going to what? Look at what it says here in the year for 2025. Zechariah 8. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, let your hands be strong, you that hear in these days the words by the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid. Here they are in 2025, but the foundation of the house of the Lord was already built. Who built it? The 144,000 in 2024, probably some point later in 2024. All right? And the year of the rapture. So when we go back here and we see who it's talking to, the disciples relating to 144,000, that portion of them, right? Who's with them? Their wives and their kids. They're going to be playing in the streets. And it says, till we were out of the city. So they took them until they were out of the city, and we knelt down on the shore and they prayed. And when we had taken our leave one of another, we took ship. I always find that very interesting. And they returned home again. All right, they returned back to Jerusalem. Now watch this. Again, this 2021 here, this 21 in Acts is the year 2024. If it is, should we see something? So what are we looking at here? Who's all this group? The rapture group. All right? And then we have the 144,000 who are going out. You know, is there 144 that brought these guys? Possibly, but this is all the women and the children and so forth going to the rapture. All right? And that's why it's returned home again. They're returning home. Because watch what's next. And the next day, we that were of Paul's company, right? Because these other guys are gone. We that were of Paul's company departed and came unto Caesarea, and what? And we entered into the house of Philip. Who is Philip? Remember, this is relating to 2024, the rapture year. What else is 2024? John 14. These are the last 21 years from Jacob, right? It's 2 wives, 7 years for one, 7 years for the next, 7 years more with the father-in-law, right? For the cattle and so forth. John 14 is also the year 2024. And look at here, talking about going to Philip's house. All right? 2024 in the book of John, talking about the rapture group first getting their new mansions, their new bodies, just like we saw. And then what's next? Philip. Rapture, Philip. Rapture, Philip. Why did that jump that way? All right. What do we have? Rapture, Philip. Rapture, Philip. It's awesome, right? So look, let's look at it real quick here. We've covered this before in John 14, and understanding of this is really great. This clip, you guys can do a Google search for Bible Countdown Calendar. All right? And it's a guy, Steve Wyertz, that was revealed this understanding of the books to the years. And John lined up. He didn't line it up. It was the count based on Psalms that was revealed decades ago. And he took the understanding, the Lord revealed him the understanding for all the books and the years that they would fit into. And guys, you could take this in there for yourselves. It's unbelievable. Okay? And there's more pages, but just to show you this, see? 2024, John 14. All right? So that's how I came to the understanding with John. Now, other books were revealed to me just in study, like Acts, for example, today. All right? So here's Philip. And how do we know who Philip is? Well, remember, when Philip baptized the eunuch, what happened? He was translated. He suddenly showed up in a different place. He wasn't necessarily raptured. He's going to have the power that the 144,000. He's a representation of the 144,000. Look, right here. The Lord tells him, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believe on me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father." See that? So who's getting this power? The 144,000. Right? Philip is a representation of the 144,000. Look, where else do we say? Is it John 1? Right? I think it's John 1. Give me a second. When, with Philip, here we go. With Philip and Nathaniel. Look, here's Philip again. Philip is our epitome of the 144,000 guy, all right? So Philip tells Jesus, "Hey, I've got a guy. I know somebody who's going to come." Philip goes and gets his buddy Nathaniel, all right? Nathaniel comes, and he's like, "Oh, what's good? Who's good has ever come out of Nazareth?" Right? And he's like, no, we have found. Philip says, "We found the Messiah, the one that the Moses and them have told us about, right? We found him. He's here." And Nathanael says unto him, "Can there anything good come out of Nazareth?" And Philip said unto him, "Come and see." Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him, and he said unto him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile." This is the 144,000. That's the representation, in whom there is no guile. Right? The 144,000 on Mount Zion, in whom there is found no guile. Again, who was involved with that? Philip. Here's the rapture group, them getting their new homes. There's Philip again. And it's telling them that they're going to do greater works than the Lord did. Who's going to get to do those greater works than the Lord? The 144,000 are. When? In 2024, it's going to begin. They're going to start by building the foundation in 2024. 2025, the beginning of trumpets, which is Revelation 14, when they're on Mount Zion with the Lord. Because he's on Mount Zion. Remember, he's returned to Mount Zion. From there, they're going to go out, and they're going to do 3.5 years. They're going to come back to him. Now, they're probably going to have direct access through, whether it be portals or, this vanishing and going one place to another. Right? They're going to be able to quickly, without tiring and wearing out shoes and all that other stuff. All right? But 3.5 years in, before Satan shows up, they're going to be given power like crazy. All right? That they won't be able to die. Nothing can hurt them, hit them, anything. They're going to have full protection. All right? And they're going to be doing things greater than the Lord did. They're going to be raising up people from the dead all over the place, I'll bet you. They're definitely going to be raising people from the dead. It says, and greater works than Jesus did when he was there. When he was here. All right? So, here we are in Acts 21, and we have the rapture group, and we have Philip again. Well, remember, I've been teaching, who is Philip? Everybody likes to say that the church, that the bride, because there's a lot of mixed up understanding out there, that the bride And believe me, before I was given these revelations and the understanding of end-time scripture, I used to believe that too. That, which church is it? It's right on the tip of my tongue, but give me a second. Philadelphia. So the Church of Philadelphia, people believe that the Church of Philadelphia was the bride. The Church of Philadelphia is not the bride. The Church of Philadelphia is the 144,000. The Church of Philadelphia is Philip. All right? And when are they going to be working? Look, it says, so they go to the house of Philip, the evangelist, which is one of the 7. Whoa. Did you hear that? If you have this program, eSword, you can look up the name evangelist, a preacher of the gospel. When are the 144,000 going out? They're going out during trumpets, which is whose time? It's no longer Matthew's time. Grace is over, right? The time of the Gentiles is over at the end of seals. When trumpets begin, it's no longer Mark's time, it's Matthew's time. And if there's any Gentiles that want to come in during trumpets, they have to follow and listen to the 144,000 as to what to do and what to obey in following certain things. Like they're going to have to go to, is it Atonement or Tabernacles? I think Atonement every year. All right? But this, with the 144,000, they're here during Matthew, during Judah's time. All right, which is the year of trumpets from 2025 to end of 31, which goes into 32. Remember, spring to spring is a year. So let's look here. Philip the evangelist, a preacher of the gospel. Let's see, where do we see that? Let's go to Matthew's discourse. And what do we see? In Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world. In Mark's, it says published. Now, yes, there's an understanding that it could mean this, and it's the same word, but within this word, see, there's proclaim, publish, and preach as a preacher. One is because one is speaking to Mark as a publishing, and in Matthew, there's another one speaking that is preaching, which is why you have here Philip regarding the 144,000 is a preacher of the gospel, because in 2024 is when they begin. See, they're going to see him first. And who is he? Look at what it says. The house of Philip, the evangelist, which was what? One of the 7. One of the 7 what? One of the 7 churches. Which one? Philadelphia. This is the one. And I'm going to show you, we're not done yet. So we know this one, Philip, the 144,000. There are only 2 churches that say, behold, I will make them of the Synagogue of Satan. You have Synagogue of Satan in the Church of Philadelphia, and you have the Synagogue of Satan in the Church of Sardis. All right? Or sorry, Smyrna. Okay? That's why it says, I know thy works and thy tribulation. These are Judah. This is Mark here. Or sorry, Matthew. This is the church for Judah here. Look, here they are again. But those that are of the Synagogue of Satan. In Philadelphia, what does it say about the people of the Synagogue of Satan? Those that are of the Synagogue of Satan, what does it say? That say they are Jews and they are not and lie? I will make them to come and worship before thy feet. Whose feet are they going to come and worship before? The 144,000. What did we just show in Zechariah 8? That the foundation was built in 2024. Who's the foundation? The 144,000. They're the pillars. They're the foundation of the temple. You see that? It's the 144,000 or the Church of Philadelphia. And then we say, okay, well, wait a second. I'm going to give you another teaching with this here. we'll finish up here with this. Smyrna, well, what about Smyrna? If they're also a Judah, and it also says, but they are the synagogue of Satan. It only says it in those two churches. Well, what about these guys? Watch this. What does it say? Fear none of those things which you shall suffer. Behold, the devil. What? The devil. The devil, Satan, right? The dragon, they're all the same thing. When does he come down? Mid-trumpets. 2028, when he loses his battle in heaven. And what is he going to do? Shall cast some of you, it says, some of you into prison, and you shall be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. When does the dragon Satan get cast out? He has his battle against Michael and his guys. He loses. He gets cast out. And when he gets cast out, he realizes he has a short time and he's going to bring wrath upon them. And who is he going after? He's going after the man-child, the 140. He's going to go after Jesus. Because remember, he's on Mount Zion. The 144,000, he's going to turn to go after them, but he can't. Right? He's going after these guys that fly into the wilderness. That's Judah. Those that have woken up and that are Judahs, that are the Lord's, that have come to believe, that are going to fly away into the wilderness, where they're going to be there for how long? A time, and times, and half a time. The last 3.5 years. All right? So when does Satan come? Right around the time of the last 3.5 years, which would be 3.5 years left to go, would be what? 2028. Oh, let's look into that. Let's go into Acts. This was 2024, 25, 26, 27, 28. Let's just double check. 2029, 2030, 2031. All right. 2031, 30, 29, 28. So here in Acts 25, we should then see something to tell us that it's relating to the year 2028. Ready? And when he tarried among them more than what? 10 days. He went down into Caesarea, and the next day sitting, and what happens? And when he was come, the Jews which came down from Jerusalem stood round about him, and laid many and grievous complaints against Paul, which they could not prove. What happens those 10 days? Now we could say, oh, come on. I can go through a whole bunch more, but it's getting late. So what about these 10 days? Well, let's do the same thing we did with the 40 days. Let's see how much or how often the phrase together, not separate, but 10 days, exactly what we're looking for, shows up in the New Testament. Now, this is Old Testament, which, by the way, this is exactly the same thing. This is exactly the same time in Daniel, by the way. But look at right here. 10 days only shows up twice in the New Testament. Acts 25, the 10 days, when he's going to tarry 10 days, because he's what? Imprisoned. And they're going to bring accusations against him. When? In the year 2028, when who? Satan has lost his battle in heaven. The devil, the dragon, and is cast down to the earth. And he's going to get some of you, and he's going to what? Cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. It's the same 10 days. It's only twice in the entire Bible, in the entire New Testament. And the second time we find it is in the year relating to 2028, which is for Judah, the same group that also, or the other group of the 7 churches that also has they that are of the synagogue of Satan. And look, when does the devil get cast out? In 2028, with 3.5 years left to go. Some are going to get cast into prison. You'll have tribulation. 10 days. You see this, guys? Guys, God is good. God is good. He is revealing this stuff, man. Man, guys, this stuff is going to take a while for many to process. I get it. Take your time. I know I do long videos, but they are important videos. This is a jam-packed video, just like the last one was. It is worth taking the time to follow through with it, to pause and take notes, to share it with others. Let's get people revealed. Let's give them these understandings, the revealing of the time of when these scriptures are speaking. Because guys, do you understand this? If people will take the time to go into each of these verses and study, knowing the years that they're talking about, knowing these years and when they're relating to the end days, and doing the same in Zechariah, and doing the same in the two places of Psalms, and doing the same in in Hosea and some of these other ones that we've talked about, knowing which year these events are falling in, do you understand how amazing and how revealing it's going to be for these messages that are going to be left for those who remain? That they may receive it. That we might get them the USBs. You know, I haven't been able to send out any. I need your help to be able to get these USBs and to get them done so that we can put a bunch of these videos, especially that 3-part series, on videos to send this stuff out. Right? We haven't been able to send any lately. We still have more people on a list to send to. We know the 14 years is starting to be understood. And we absolutely know time is short. But we are going to, regardless of when this time is in 2018, there is going to be a 40-day window for us to preach, and to let people know that it is time to repent and to wake up. And these USBs are going to help. They're going to be blessings to thousands of people, as many as we can get out, that it will reach many thousands more with each USB. You know, there's a PayPal link that'll be in the description box. There's an address you guys can send stuff to us if you'd like. Right? We need to get more of these USBs out. Look at these teachings, guys. It's jam-packed with end-time revealed understanding of these scriptures, of who they're speaking to and when. Man, it is unbelievable. The Spirit is at work and working hard and working fast through a bunch of us, guys. All right? So let's take advantage of this and let's share this. Let's spread the word and keep revealing and sharing and giving this to other people as well. All right, guys, I love you. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.